There's been an ongoing debate, right? And you being in the jury business, who has the better jury, rappers or athletes?
For sure, the athletes. That's what, they got the money to spend to buy it.
Yo, what's good with it? What's poppin'? What it is, what it ain't, what it could be, what it should be, what it would be. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of Funky Friday. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I promise, I really do promise to give good content for the masses, but most of all, ladies and gentlemen, I just promise to always keep it funky. Now, my next guest is world-renowned, Grammy-nominated rapper, entrepreneur, the grill master, the slab-running king, son, husband, father, H-Town, all day, every day. I present to some and introduce to others. Paul Wall.
What it do? Thank you for having me, man.
How you doing,
Thank
bro? Can I say the obvious?
What?
You're a part of a very selected crew. You wanna know what that is?
What's that?
Having white people on a Funky Friday platform.
That's what's up. Happy to be here,
Yeah,
man.
feel me?
Yeah, it's a high threshold.
Bruh.
You know what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying? I be like, man, bro, why my people's on
Yeah.
rock with me? But it is what it
Yeah,
is, bro.
man.
I'm so happy to share this platform with you because multiple reasons. Not a lot of people really understand that I got Texas roots, right? When I went to Dream College,
Oh, we know about blend.
went to Blend.
We know about blend. Everybody in Texas know about your Texas roots. Just know that.
Bro.
We know.
And I'm gonna tell you, it was a culture shock. When I got there, everybody was just driving real slow and talking like this, man. And then it was just like, everybody's seat. Like, I done sat in some cars and like this.
Yeah.
But them folks, they were all the way back in the back seat.
seat, yeah.
So far that they was looking out the back window.
Yeah.
That it ain't registering. Like, you know, you got your front window, then you got like a boom. Folks will literally like be back so far. They turned a sedan to a coupe. And I'm like, bro, it's so, y'all weird. They was calling me weird.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm like, dog, I'm an alien here. Or y'all aliens, they had the elbows.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, bro, what is wrong with everybody? I literally go from Florida where everything's sped up. Like the
Yeah.
music, like, boom, they speed up. Now I go to Texas where everything's slowed down. Chop, not slop.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, cool. Like it makes you appreciate music in a different way.
Yeah.
Talk to me about just that whole richness of really, and what people don't know, I can spot a Dallas person from a Houston person from a mile away.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Talk about that.
Man, you know, Houston and Dallas or even Austin or San Antonio, El Paso, even between Dallas and Fort Worth, like there's a lot of big cities in Texas and we're all similar, but all very different, you know. Sometimes it's in our accents, like, you know, the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you know, they say Swishahouse, but we say Swishahouse, you know, coming down. They're just, you know, our accents be a little different, you know, or our dress be a little different. I remember going to Dallas, going to the Big T Bazaar, and, you know, out there, they wearing, you know, leather shorts. This is, you know, back in my era of coming up. You know, they wearing checkerboard leather shorts. So I'm fresh checkerboard leather shorts too. I come back home to the block. My boy Goo was like, hell nah, you better take that back to Dallas. We ain't doing that on South Lee.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's just a different thing. You know, it's just like whatever we would do in Houston, we go to these other cities and like, man, why y'all do that? You know, so it's similar but very different. And when it comes to the slow down sound, slow down music, you know, big rest in peace DJ Screw, big rest in peace Michael 5000 Watts. It's something about when you slow it down, you can really feel it different. You can hear it different. It's a different vibe. So if you're not prepared for it, it's like, nah, that ain't, what I'm looking for. But to me, I look at it like, when you eat a steak and you might pair it with a glass of wine.
Yeah.
And the wine just bring out the flavors of the steak. It's kind of like when you screw the music down, it bring out certain flavors in the music. Then us being, a car state, you know what I'm saying, where it's very, it's other car states as well, but us being a car state, you put a lot into your car, whether it's you put pride into the candy paint or the wheels or whatever, but definitely that sound system makes you feel it. And you put on the ride music, you got your, your mixtapes or whatever going to get from point A to point B. You're going to have, you don't want to listen to the same thing over and over and over. So you're going to have, something, a good selection of music. And when it's screwed, it, makes it a little longer. A 3.5 minute song might be 5 minutes or something.
Good 5.5, 6.
Or the freestyle might be a 20-minute freestyle or something.
Bro, my whole experience was so rich because I would always think, and I would ask questions. This ain't nothing new for me. Like I told you, off camera, it's like I genuinely love talking to people. And when I used to talk to the people back in Blend, one of my peers would always say, "Bro, it's almost synonymous that a lot of the lean and slow music it pairs together."
Yep. Yeah.
And anybody who knows promethazine or the lean, syrup, whatever, it just has you. I've never drank it a day in my life. I've been around it and seen it and seen different mixtures and combinations. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But seeing it, that kind of substance slows you down.
Yeah.
So to pair it with a vibe that's also slow, and it just says that. Now, I'm gonna tell you something that really kind of blew up my mental and just had me think like, yo, Texas is not a real place. Bro, I went to Texas Relays in Austin.
Yep.
And as I was driving into Texas from Brenham, I think, what is it, 290?
Yep, 290.
It's something, and then boom, we get off there. It was a part of the town where it was like Waco, Austin.
Yeah.
And then, boom, I go to Austin. Then I was like, Waco, that's David Koresh.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Boom, we go Austin. As you're entering Austin, there was a billboard. I don't know if that billboard was a staple, but it was real crazy because it said, "Keep Austin weird."
Yeah.
And then I'm driving in the car, and I'm like, did anybody see this billboard? Yeah, like, nah, bro, it's a Texas thing. Then we go, what is it, 6th Street?
Yep.
We do all the festivities. The day of the Texas Relays, it had to be every bit of 6 p.m. on the highway. It is stopped. I'm thinking it was a doggone car accident. These folks is outside literally ghost riding their whip, playing music. And in the system of Texas, you gotta buy the 5th wheel.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, what are we? Then they got them elbows out there, bro. The elbows are so far, bro. Like you driving in your lane, it could literally touch you. It like, bro.
Yeah.
And then we ain't talking about Lamborghini Maseratis.
Yeah.
We talking about Oldsmobiles, Cutlasses.
Yeah.
Just,
Cadillacs,
oh my God almighty. Bro, blown away. Head popped off, just like, bro, get me out of here. But I loved it because people were so genuine. Folks from Dallas, I identified everybody from Dallas at my school because they had Dallas booty fades.
Yeah,
I'm like, bro, you just got a whole patch of hair in the back of your hair, bro. What are you
Houston,
doing?
we got the South Side.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, and so it's just so much that I just appreciate Texas. So everybody from Texas, y'all, man, Prayview, man, we used to party in Prayview. Man, we used to hit Houston. Dog, Sugar Land, Texas, bro, Lake Travis, God almighty, man. It was just a time for me, and especially, and I'm sorry if I'm talking too much, bro, but I'm just venting. It was during a time of my life where I needed to belong to something. You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you mean.
And Texas was that for me.
Yeah.
You feel me? Genuine people that I still allow, I still have connections with to this day. But, obviously enough about me, man. But
we claim you. We claim you.
Yeah.
Your era at Blend,
Yeah.
we definitely claim. I knew you went on to bigger and greater heights. But, them Blend days is something that, we all, it resonate with us. And it's like one of them head scratches was, man, he went to Blend for real?
No, for real.
And, my dog, Big Pokey, rest in peace, Big Pokey, he also went to Blend, a little before you. But, there's been some others, but definitely, man, all over Texas, man. We claim and represent for you, man.
I'm apologizing in advance to the viewer because not a lot of times people know where Blend is. Brenham, Texas, Bluebell. Yeah. I always describe it like, bro, you eat Bluebell ice cream, the factory is right there.
Yeah.
And the Blue Bonnets.
Yeah.
And it was just, for me, being around people who didn't have identity. All we had was ourselves.
Yeah.
And it just got to a point of my life where I didn't have confidence. So when what people see today, it derived or started in Blend, in Texas. So they see weird. They see like, bro, I got Alabama roots, Florida roots, Texas roots, Atlanta roots, and it's all combined in one. But when people see you today, what's the first thing that they bring up? Is it the music? Is it the grills? Is it the cars? What is it?
It's a little bit of both, all of the above. Just depends on, who the person is. Because different things resonate with different people. And a lot of times people will bring up, my earlier achievements or earlier accolades or whatever, whether it be I'm known for the cars or the grills or any of that, the music. And I love it all, you know what I'm saying? And you can't pick and choose, what's gonna touch somebody else or what's gonna inspire somebody else. So any of it being inspiring or, to resonate with somebody else, I love it all. And I represent for all of it too. So, I love it all, especially the car culture is so different in Houston, all over Texas, but specifically in Houston, our car culture is so different. Or even the grill culture, it kind of became a worldwide thing, you know what I'm saying? Like how we do our grills in Texas. But when it started out, there was grills other places, but the way we did them in Texas was different than the way they had them in Louisiana or Florida or New York or Atlanta. Yeah. Each place had their own kind of style.
Explain?
Definitely. Louisiana, they were kind of mostly known for the yellow gold, but it was like a high yellow gold.
That was like a juvenile, 400 degrees.
Yeah. And of course, Birdman, came, with his ball and took it to a whole nother level with himself personally. But overall in Louisiana, the yellow gold slugs was kind of it. And then also in Atlanta, the open faces was always a thing, you know what I'm saying? And then in Florida, it was kind of like a combination, kind of similar to Louisiana, you know what I'm saying, where it was the yellow gold slugs. But it was a different yellow hue than was in Louisiana. I don't know if it was the different carat of gold that resonated in Florida or Louisiana, but it's one of them things where you see the ballers with something and that make the ballers that come after you want the same thing. And the next thing you know, it becomes a thing where we represent, this is how we do it here. So in Texas, you know what I'm saying, with the way we set the diamonds and everything, it just was something different. And a lot of that was a trial and error thing of people wanting something that couldn't be done. And my partner, my boy Johnny Dang, would just be like, hey, let's try it, let's figure it out. And it, we'd be a trial and error till we get it right. And some of that, comes with the patience of the baller buying the grill. Yeah. If they got the money like that to fuck it off and I get the grill, but it don't look right, all right, we'll do it again. All right, we'll do it again till we get it right, and they had the money like that and the patience to allow us to get it right. Then the technology kind of caught up with, the ideas. And people would always want something different. I want to do it like this. I want to do it like that. It might have started off with the champagne glass on the gold tooth or something, or just one diamond on the gold tooth. And then that turned into a whole, whatever diamond setting you could have on your jewelry, now you can have it on your teeth, But definitely the grills was something that paralleled my identity for a long time. Part of that because in hip hop, everybody rap. Everybody is trying to come up doing something. If you go to the drive-through window, they handing you a demo or telling you, check me out. I got I rap. So after a while, you get, 1,000 people telling you check you out. It could be the next Drake, but you're just like, all right, this is enough is enough.
It's oversaturated.
Yeah, oversaturated. So the Grillz opened the door for me that, no one else had. Any other jeweler that sold grills was only a jeweler. Where me selling grills, it started off, I just wanted a grill. I wanted to look good. I couldn't afford it. And you get that employee discount, that's how you get it the cheapest. So I'm like, all right, let me work for selling grills just so I can get the employee discount.
Yeah.
And that turned into, my best friend saying, oh, you got one of those? Man, I want one of those too. All right, this is my cost. I'm not doing it to make money. I'm doing it because I want you to look good too. And then it turned into the whole neighborhood got grills. And then, and that's because if we going out to the club or somewhere, I want them to say, hey, all y'all from the same block, the same hood, whatever, man, y'all shining, and I want our whole squad to be shining like that. Sure. It's not a money thing. I want to make money off of it. I really didn't even consider I could make money off of it. It really was just
a hobby.
A hobby for real. And then that turned into, they bring in their cousin or they whoever, or I got somebody in another state, another city, let me take care of you. And my partner Johnny, he started his story is crazy coming from Vietnam to America. So when he came to Houston, he started off doing jewelry repair. So he would be working his ass off for a month and you get $50. I'm talking about he wasn't making no money, but he was working crazy hours. And, for him it started where he would make the grills for the dentist. But at that time, one gold tooth would be like $300 from the dentist. Yeah. And that's at least a 300% markup. Yeah. So Johnny was like, man, this is a lot of money. I could make this, we could sell these on our own. Yeah. And this before I was with Johnny. Johnny was doing this, but man, Johnny said he started selling grills on his own. So he'd do jewelry repair and he'd sell grills. And I came in as basically a middleman where I was a wholesale client, where I wouldn't make them, I just would sell them. Yeah. So I'd take people's molds, get the designs, whatever, bring them to Johnny, and then, he would actually make them, and then I'd go around and sell them. And then at one point, when I started rapping, I was rapping the whole time, but nobody cared. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But at one point, when I started rapping with the Swishahouse on the mixtapes, this is the mixtape era, before YouTube, before really the internet, and you didn't know what anyone looked like or anything, so they wouldn't know who I was.
You had the album cover or the mixtape cover with the whole track list, and it'd be kind of crazy,
And we wouldn't want to get sued, so if we're rapping, if we're freestyling on other people's beats, we wouldn't say the new Jay-Z beat, the new song, we'd change the name of it. For sure. So if you're just looking at it, you don't know, oh yeah, they rapping on other people's beats, you know what I'm saying? So it really was a mystery behind all of it. Yeah. But one time I'm in there, dropping off grill orders, Johnny, he would have a crazy Vietnamese accent that was very heavy, very thick. So he's on the southwest side of Houston, which is extremely multicultural, also the hood. Mm-hmm. And so you got different accents from countries. You got a hood accent, a Houston, Texas accent as well on top of that. And then you got people in there from Louisiana or Alabama, Florida, all over with those specific, regional accents too. And it would just be English to English, but it'd be confusing. They don't know what the other person's saying. And I would be the one just, it would always be this, where they would be arguing with Johnny, fighting with Johnny about something just because they couldn't understand each other's English. Yeah. And I would just be the translator, you know what I'm saying?
The third part, the middleman.
And one time, somebody was,
liaison.
They was in there and they was like, man, I know your voice from somewhere. Well, I know your voice. What's your name? Paul Wall. And maybe from the Swishahouse? Yep. And that's the time when Johnny was like, wait a minute, you a rapper? You famous? Yeah. And I wasn't famous, so it's like, nah, I ain't really famous, but, it's just give or take who would, it's one of them things where if we be in a room full of 100 people, 99 of them wouldn't have a clue who I was. But the one who did might love me, but everybody else, they're like, man, you ain't shit. I ain't never heard of you.
For sure.
But just that one person, recognized my voice. And then from that point on, me and Johnny's relationship kind of shifted because I was already kind contributing in a customer service kind of way,
Yeah.
as well as being a wholesale client. Man, the opportunity Johnny gave me, he's given to thousands of people where he allow you to go make your own dreams come true.
Yeah.
And you want to sell grills, go ahead, you
Yeah.
know, and you could around the country. So the funniest thing in all of this is a lot of our competition with grills are also our wholesale clients, you know. So the same person is talking trash about Johnny or whatever on the internet, they're sending us their orders for us to make for them to sell to somebody else.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, the grills really just opened up so many doors for me. The first celebrity I did was Lil Jon, and I had already knew Lil Jon at the time because I was a DJ as well. Man, I kind of got like a Forrest Gump kind of life where
I'm listening to it and I'm like, wait, what?
I mean, it really even before selling grills, it started for me before DJing. I would rap the whole time. I mean, me and my boy Chamillionaire, we grew up together. I knew him since I was 5 years old. So we would be at the school bus, going to the track meets, freestyling. We'd be, you know, at the lunch table freestyling, just whatever, just doing our thing. But, you know, like I say, that was like a dream that I didn't even consider a reality. You know, growing up, they say you could be anything. You could be the president. I mean, there's only one president at a time. So we can't all be the president, you know? So I never really believed that I could achieve any of these dreams that I had, you know, but I just would follow my heart and do what I love to do and just, you know, pray. This is something I prayed on my whole life. You know, still to this day, I'm praying on, you know, my dreams to chase them, to be able to accomplish them. But the first door that opened for me to allow me to pursue these dreams, and I love telling these stories because some people think, you know, they have a vision of the final result, you know, of
Finished product.
But what it takes to get to that finished product is a lot of twists and turns, ups and downs, you know. And the first door that opened up for me in that aspect was doing street promotions. I was 14 years old, and I just wanted to be on the team.
Yeah.
Well, what's the number one job nobody wanted to do? Pass out flyers. That was like scrub work. It's what it was considered back then. Now I know it's some. I mean, it was ballers back then that was doing promotions, but you know, at the time it was considered scrub work. So I would be out there at the clubs passing out flyers, and I'm way too young to be in the club, but man, I'd get in because I had the flyer. Also, you know, I had like when I was younger, I had an older looking face, I guess, you know, so I looked a little older. And
now you look younger.
Now I look younger.
That's great.
It's
Benjamin Button.
Benjamin boys, yeah, man. Yeah. But when I started doing the promotions, that opened the door for me to get the vinyl. And me and my homeboys would DJ, but the only way you could get the vinyl was either at a record store, Soundwaves in Houston, which just closed down finally this year. Man, that's what DJ Premier used to work there. A lot of people used, you know, they provided a lot for the hip hop foundation in Houston. Yeah. But they wouldn't have, you know, what you jamming in the club or you hearing on the radio, they wouldn't have all the vinyl. A lot of the vinyl would be limited and the record labels would have it and they'd service the DJs. Well, when I'm passing out flyers, I'm passing out flyers for Def Jam, which, you know, in the 90s was hip hop. Yeah. And it was Def Jam and No Limit, which that was the pinnacle of hip hop in the 90s, in the late 90s specifically. So being that I'm passing out flyers, that turned into, all right, I'm gonna pass out flyers at the club and I'm gonna bring the DJ the new vinyl. So when I'm bringing the DJ the new vinyl, every now and then I might, you know, let me take one for me. Now me and my homeboys in high school, they had my boy Chad, my boy Josh, they had the turntables and the speakers, but I had the vinyl. Well, the majority of the vinyl, you know what I'm saying? Especially the new, you know what I'm saying? So that was my contribution was now I can DJ because I'm bringing the vinyl. And I wanted to DJ, I didn't know how. It's one of them things where you just kind of learn as you go because there's not a YouTube back then to look up to watch, and you know there's not like a school to go to learn how to do it, and you know one thing leads to another, and you know God will put people and situations in your life that will just somehow kind of work itself out. And I went to church, and the church I went to, one of the elders at the church, the leader of the choir, the elder and the leader of the choir, they were married, and their son was OG Ron C. And just so coincidentally, the job I worked too, when I got a little older, I was like 15, 16, working at this place called James Coney Island, a fast food restaurant. My boy that I work with, my boy B. Sykes, he's the one who gave me the name Paul Wall, and him and OG Ron C are first cousins. So we'd go to the parties where Michael Watts and Ron C are DJing, and I'm 14, 15.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, hey, this is my boy Paul Wall. This is my boy Paul Wall. So Ron C would be on the mic. Shout out to B. Sykes. Hey, what's your boy name again? Shout out to Paul Wall. And I hated the nickname because I went by a different rap name at the time. So anybody, and these are high school parties, but when we in high school at the high school parties and they shout out Paul Wall, I'm like, hey, y'all heard him? He said my name. He said my name. Everybody went to school and like, man, he said Paul Wall. You Paul Slayton. He ain't say you. And I'm like, man, quit saying Paul Wall. That ain't my name. And he's like, nah, that's your name. And to this day, I don't know why he gave me that name, but a lot of the nicknames in Houston always rhyme like that. Screw Zoo, Kiki, just so it kind of was on par with that. But Ron C is like, hey man, don't you go to church with my mama? So that kind of like opened that up, and then Ron C took me under his wing and really taught me how to DJ. He taught me how to blend, cut, scratch, how to screw and chop, all of that. He taught me about song selection. He taught me a whole lot when it came to DJing. But I started off doing the flyers to DJing, and that's what introduced me to Lil Jon, who also was a DJ. Everybody know him as being,
But he's from Atlanta.
Yeah, and he DJ now, but he started as a DJ too. So, he would, when they coming up, I'm playing his music or whatever, or this and that. That's how I got introduced to him, and he was like, man, I like how y'all do y'all Grillz. It's different than we got in Atlanta, and I want to look different when I go back to Atlanta. I don't want it to look like, even though the Grillz in Atlanta, of course, are hard as fuck, but he just wanted something different, so we gave him something different. And then when he wore it on his album cover, and then he like, okay, I got some artists, Lil Scrappy, this and, all those artists, I started grilling them all up one by one, and then that would introduce me to somebody else. And that opened the door for hey, let me get a verse from you. How many grills I got to give you, to get a verse from you? And which they might not have did a verse from me, but since I'm giving them grills or selling them grills at a discount, that allows certain people to look at me different when it came to the rap. And I wasn't too shabby on the mic, but sometimes it ain't about your talent or how hard you is. Yeah, it's about the relationship.
Let me say this, because I'm hearing so much transition, so much pivoting, so much figuring it out. And did you go to school to learn anything outside of high school?
I went to the University of Houston.
Okay.
To learn radio and broadcasting. My dream job was to be a DJ. That was my dream job, and part of that was because from my area in Houston, of course we had Rap-A-Lot, but to us, Rap-A-Lot was Rockefeller, Def Jam. It was Death Row.
Untouchable.
It was, it was
unfathomable. It was like bigger than life.
It was exactly. It was mainstream on Scarface was a god to us. Yeah. So it was like, I don't know if I can, follow in those footsteps or anyone around us. We just I didn't see rappers come up and, I went to high school with them, or I know them, or, I know they, oh, that's such and such uncle. It wasn't like that for us. But DJs, I knew somebody whose uncle was a DJ. Mm-hmm. I knew DJs who had families and 401ks and houses that they owned, and they were balling and driving the new cars and looking good, shining. So to me, a DJ was more a reasonable job that I could actually see and touch and get. And I'll never forget when my goal was to get an internship at the radio station in Houston, 97.9 The Box. But it was some type of situation that happened with a radio personality messing around with an underage intern. And from that point on, they changed the rules. You got to be 18 to be an intern. And my dreams were crushed because I thought that was like, I had my pathway set out. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to work for the radio station, and I'm going to be good. And then that changed everything. It was like, damn, I can't be a DJ now, direct. I mean, I can, it's just I gotta wait a little longer. I gotta, but I mean, sometimes, like I said, man, God will have a way of protecting you from yourself, or forcing you to do other things. You know what I'm saying? And I thought that's what was gonna happen, and God was like, nah. That's not gonna happen. You can DJ, but that's not what you here for.
Yeah. We hear the name Paul Wall, like it's a household name in the culture, and what's crazy is you're naming some of these people. DJ Ron C, like hearing his voice, and I'm embarrassed to say, but a lot of these times, as you said, I don't see their faces.
Yeah.
You know their voices. Chop, not slop. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm gonna run it one more time.
Yeah.
Like, and then it and Swishahouse, all these different impactful people. Obviously, having not serving, but being in Texas, you learn about Kiki, Lil Kiki. You learn about, so many different impactful rappers, Bun B, Pimp C, and you grow to just like, golly, like these folks are like legendary, obviously yourself. But we hear the name, but we don't hear about you growing up personally. What was your sibling? Did you have siblings? Obviously, you just mentioned going to the University of Houston. We're going to talk about your mom, but what was growing up in Houston like through the personal realm?
Houston is so multicultural. It's a incredible melting pot. Not only just from the cultures that exist there, but the industry that's there. There's so many businesses. They come plant in Houston or Texas, so we got access to a lot of different cultures that other cities or states maybe don't have access to. And I grew up in a very multicultural neighborhood where there was white people, Mexican people, black people, Indian people, Asian people, all on my street, So, my best friend, his parents were Nigerian. Chamillionaire. That was my best friend growing up. So, and then, right across the street from him is my boy Vu, who was Vietnamese. Or like I say, it was a huge multicultural melting pot. So, growing up in Houston, you get influenced by a lot, and, just on my come up, I grew up with a sister. She's 2 years older than me, and I have a stepbrother. But by the time my parents got married, he was already kind of out the house. He went to Texas Tech. So, he was already out the house. So we didn't grow up in the same house, but he's still my big brother, you know what I'm saying? And, I grew up in a very small family. It was just my mom, on my mom's side, like I don't know anything on my biological dad's side. I don't have any contact with any of them or know any of them. Only thing I know is like the bad stuff, him being a drug addict or, his things like that. But my mom, it was just her and her parents. She was a single child.
Wow.
Her parents, they were from Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina.
No way.
And when he joined the military, he was all over the world. And my mom just so happened to be born in Fort Bliss in El Paso. But shortly after that, they moved on. And my mom, she moved all around the world. She lived in California for a long time, in San Francisco. She went to high school in New Jersey. She went to high school where they filmed Remember the Titans.
No way.
And she actually went there the year before it integrated. In the movie, the guy who got in a car accident, he signed my mama's yearbook.
Gary Bertier?
He went to the same school with her.
Gary Bertier, the fact that
I know.
Strong side.
How you know that? I need to remember that.
What? Gary Bertier is a legend. If I see anybody from Remember the Titans, obviously from Ace Boogie, I mean, he went on to play other different characters. But everybody else, Petey, Sunshine, all them, it's like, dog, they live rent-free in my brain for being that character.
Yeah. But that set the tone for me to want to travel the world. Yeah. My mom, my grandpa being in the military, my mom growing up all over the world too, because he was stationed all over the world. And being that I had a very small family, my godmother, her family really kind of adopted me as like a secondary family, and they came from a big family. So I have 3 god sisters who, you know, I grew up as those are my sisters. All of their cousins are my cousins. You know, Latavia Roberson from Destiny Child, that's my god sister's first cousin. So she was my first cousin growing up. So watching her blow up in Destiny Child, all of that, it just still was an unbelievable thing just seeing their ascension. But it opened my mind to see that it's possible. Somebody that I know can go on to be a worldwide, you know, global icon. And, you know, so for me to chase my dreams in hip hop, I knew I was going to be a part of it some way. But being a DJ was number one. Rapping was something I did for fun.
Let me ask you this. In any part of your life, did you ever have identity issues?
You know, a little bit maybe, but only when it came to dealing with white people. Being that we're real close to Louisiana, there's a lot of Frenchmen in Texas. So a lot of people might have thought I was a Frenchman from Louisiana, or they might have thought I was biracial, or they might have thought I was Hispanic. And it's always kind of, you know, funny where each community will kind of claim me as their own. You know, nah, he biracial. You know, nah, he Mexican. Nah, he this, he that. You know, but I'm kind of all inclusive. You know what I'm saying? Even though obviously I am white, but the only identity issues like that or situations would only be from white people. The only racism my life ever experienced was from white people to this day. You know, only criticism or any of that was only all from white people. They were very unaccepting of me for a long time.
Now, let me ask.
Now it's different. It's obviously different for me now dealing with white people now. They accept me now. I get a lot of love from white people, but growing up,
it's not that I want to trauma bond, but I'm curious to hear your struggles, because the good, in my experience in Texas, is what I've already displayed. The bad in it is that I spent 365 days in Texas in Dream College. That was probably the most racism I've ever witnessed in my life, primarily in College Station. And it got to the point where every weekend, you know, we had players from Dallas, Fort Worth, Austin, Waco, Houston, Prairie View, all around that specific spot of Brenham. And we would go to different places. We would go to hang out in Prairie View. Hey, we would go to Houston. We would go to these different places. And when we would go to College Station, which also had a chapter of blend, but it had no athletics, they wasn't rocking, you know what I'm saying, with brothers like that. And I questioned a lot, because one of the players who came from Brenham or Blend went to College Station, or went to Texas A&M. That's in College Station. And his experience was completely different than the average person. And granted, you got to think about it. I was Cameron Newton then. Some people call me Cam, but it was more or less like, on paper, that's what it was. My nickname has always been Cam. So to them, they didn't really know who the hell this dude was. So what was your experiences of racism? And speak on that.
Man, it'd be crazy when we get pulled over by the police, and you know they separate you, and they'd ask other people, because when we get back in the car, they'd always say, "Hey, man, the cop asked me, was you white or was you mixed or was you black, whatever?" And you know, thinking back, it's like you can kind of see that the fact that I am white, or I was white in that situation, allowed us to make it out all right.
Yeah.
You know, and it's crazy to think that, because at the time, you know, I'm trying not to get beat up too, like everybody else beat up from the police. And there's been some situations like that, but you know, it's very weird where, you know, the racism is there, and they'll still be a fan of you maybe, or know who you are maybe, and then not be ashamed to let you know they also hate you. You know, for whatever reason. But for me, it was stay in your place. You a race trader. You this and that. You know, why are you doing that? Why are you hanging with these, whatever? Even though I'm like, man, these are my neighbors. We come from the same area. Yeah. You know, I talk the same way as everybody on my street talk. You know, I dress the same way as everybody on my street. I listen to the same music as everybody on my street. But you know, outside of that, when they get there, they just see you, and all they see is what you look like, and they're like, no, you look a different way than I think you're supposed to look, and I'm gonna let you know that. But yeah, it's definitely evolved and grown. Some of it has been, timed out as the generations have died off, I guess. Yeah. But at the same time, there's a lot of it still there. It's underlying. It's definitely still there.
Yeah. I'll say this. You spent a large time and a large part of your life immersed in Black culture. How did you earn the respect and acceptance of people around you, because you were invited to the cookout very early, and for some way, it's another flex to still be a part of the cookout, for decades at a time?
Yeah, I see it sometimes where somebody might, get invited to the cookout, and then once they get there, they're like, all right, I'm here. Now let me leave and go to something else. Especially when it comes to like white rappers, a lot of people will transition into other things. But I don't know. I deal with this a lot too when it comes to up and coming white rappers who want to get accepted by the Black culture. They won't necessarily always ask me. Sometimes they will, but it'll be people like on their team or their record labels. Hey, how did you get accepted? Because we want to get him. We can't get them accepted. And I mean, for me, it was not something I chased, but I think it boils down to respect. I mean, this is something we learned from Jay Prince. He would always preach this to us: is you show people respect, you show people love. I never came with entitlement or anything, or thinking, certain things. It's all about showing people love, showing people respect. I mean, I never lied about being white or said I'm not white, or said, people would think I'm mixed, but I never told nobody. And if they asked, nah, I'm not mixed. You a Frenchman? No, not that I know of. I mean, my mom did a DNA test recently. I found out she 6%. This or that, so I guess that means I'm 3% of this. But you know what I'm saying. But some of those things, it's just they didn't exist in our era.
Do you care to share the team for the acceptance?
I mean, I definitely do. I give people the information all the time of.
No, I'm talking about the individual who wanted your insight.
I mean, it's not like this rapper or that in particular. Okay. I mean, anybody I would name, you wouldn't even know who they are. Right. I wouldn't even know who they are.
The first person, as you were talking, that came to mind was Jack Harlow, right? And I think Jack is an extremely talented rapper. His last album, named Monica, kind of rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. But at the same time, it doesn't eliminate his skill. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Looking how he looks, rapping how he raps, being as talented and seeing the visuals of his music videos to his rollouts are exceptional.
Yeah.
But some who even put a microscope to Monica, if you say it in a different dialect or diaphragm, it sounds like a racial slur as my nigga.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So for that, that's the person that I thought about, and I'm saying,
he ain't never asked me nothing about, how I get accepted or any of that. But I mean, I don't know. I always grew up, like I said, my grandpa was in the military. Everybody that he was in the military with, he was like the only white person. They were all Black or Hispanic, so his best friends one was Black and one was Puerto Rican. Those were his two best, and his two only friends that I ever met my whole life, my grandpa. Yeah. And I grew up without my biological dad, so my grandpa was the father figure for a long time. Mm-hmm. And he would tell me stories about him and my grandma going to jazz clubs or going places, and he would tell me that they'd be the only white people there, but they would never feel prejudice or never feel racism from any black people. It would only be from other white people for hanging with black people. And so he instilled that in me for a long time. My mom, she used to march, you know, her era growing up. She used to do the sit-ins, all of that. So, you know, it was very something I was aware of. And a lot of people, a lot of white people who are in this kind of space, they only see it from their perspective or see it from, you know, where they're at. But you gotta keep in mind other people's journeys or other people's, you know, perspective of you. So for me, it was never a racial thing for me. I didn't like, I don't know if I've ever in my life mentioned in a rap something about being white, or even, you know, white rappers sometimes would be like, oh, how'd you come up? It's so hard to make it as a white rapper. And I'm like, what are you talking about? It's hard to make it as a rapper, period.
Man, I had to unlearn this idea that if I kept putting stuff on my hair, that it would automatically grow. I was doing what I thought I knew to do, but I was not paying attention to what my hair actually needed. And when you're trying to keep that length, breakage will have you feeling like your hair is playing games with you. And that right there is the main reason why I love Baskin Leather. I've been using their products and I've been seeing more growth and length. The stimulating scalp and hair balm helps nourish and hydrate textured hair, while the hydrating hair mist keeps it soft and moisturized. It's black owned, family operated, and they actually understand textured hair. So if you're trying to get your hair right, stop guessing and give it what it needs. Explore viral bestsellers and products of healthier hair of all types from Baskin Leather. Go to BaskinLeatherCode.com and use code FunkyFriday for 20% off. That's 20% off at BaskinLeatherCO.com. Code FunkyFriday. It's hot. Summer is still here, but you can tell it's moving fast. You start looking at the calendar, thinking, I need one more trip, one more cookout, one more day by the water before it's all over. That's why I love Macy's. Whether you're grabbing a fresh fit, a new carry-on for your weekend trip, some shades, sunglasses, anything you may need to host one last cookout, you can get it all in one place. And if you're already starting to think about what's next, and you got a lot of kids, some kids, one kid, like me, you're ready for back to school. Whatever your next move is, Macy's makes the transition easy. From finishing summer strong, then rolling into the next season looking even better.
You know, and if you look at how hard it is for other people of other races, they have challenges way far greater than being a white rapper. So that some of that to me has always been kind of silly, you know what I'm saying? To be like, oh man, it's so hard for me to come up as a white rapper, this and that. You know what I'm saying? That's silly because there's so much things that's, you know, more, you know, crucial than that or more important than that, you know, and I don't know. I don't know what has, you know, I think definitely coming up on the Swishahouse helped a little bit because, you know, there was a racial ambiguity. You don't know what somebody's race is. You might assume everybody on the Swishahouse is black, you know, because that's everybody.
That's who they're pandering to that audience.
Yeah. But you don't really know. So people didn't know I was white till, you know, it was almost like they already like loved. Matter of fact, I'll tell you a story. One time I was in Roy Jones Jr.'s club, Star 69 in Pensacola, Florida. This was like one of the first clubs outside of Texas, really outside of our whole region, that would book us. And he used to always book us to perform. And one time I'm in there, me and Chamillionaire, because we were a group coming up, and we performing. I remember me and my boy Lou Hawk, we was at the bar. And somebody standing next to the bar, you know, somebody next to me was talking to somebody else, and he like, man, I wonder what time Power Wild coming on, man. And I heard him say this, and I just turned to him and say, hey, what's up, man? I'm about to go on like 15 minutes. I'm just getting a drink. I'm about to go on. And he about to steal off on me. He like, man, what you talking about? Who is you? And he's looking at me crazy. And I could tell he was like, didn't catch what I was saying. And I was just like, it's all good. You know, I went on stage. But after I came off stage, he came up to me. His whole demeanor was different. He was laughing. He was like, man, I didn't know what you was talking about, bro. I had no idea you was white. And he was like, man, the crazy thing is, I hate white people. I really hate white people. So my favorite rapper finding out that you're white is like I'm torn between two worlds. I don't know, should I hate you or should I still listen to you? And, it just is one of those things where I realized that rapping in the Swishahouse maybe, I don't want to say open the doors racially for me, but they didn't close them for me. Whereas if you just see somebody.
It gave you a chance.
It gave me a chance. It gave me an opportunity for sure. For sure.
Yeah. I see this dynamic too, and one of my kind of last questions as far as identity. What's the conversations that you have with your children, being biracial and being faced with really identity issues as well too? I'm reminded about a line that Drake says, I used to get teased because I'm not white enough, but now in this industry, I get teased because I'm not black enough. So like you have a person like J. Cole, you have a person like Drake, all these individuals, Eminem, who's, obviously white. But when you're in this commodity of hip hop, it's like you catching it from many different ways of, you don't know who you belong to. You know what I'm saying? So how do you have that conversation with your children?
Well, first of all, my son, he's 20 now, but I've told him his whole life that you're not a Paul Wall 2.0. Be your own person, your own self. You got your own likes and dislikes. Whoever you want to be that. And definitely my wife's experience is different than mine, just because she's black and I'm not. So I'm sure she's had a different experience. But, I try to encourage that sometimes, you can have a great day and then one bad thing will happen and then in your mind it's like, oh, I had a bad day. But really, it was a good day. It's just something bad happened. So I've always been a glass is half full kind of person. Yeah. So I try to encourage my son, my daughter, she's 18. So I've always encouraged both of them to look for the positive. Don't focus on the negative. Yes, it's gonna be there. We've definitely had several conversations about, you get pulled over by the police, this and that. It's gonna be different when Paul Wall ain't in the car with you, you know what I'm saying? And Paul Wall being in the car still might be a rough situation for you, but for the most part, it's definitely gonna be different if you get pulled over and I'm not in the car. You need to be prepared for some of these things, but I mean, it's one of those things too as well with them. I think one of the things for them that's kind of maybe eased it is that growing up in Houston, like I said, it's so multicultural. So it's, black, white, Hispanic. A lot of people, they thought both of my kids were Mexican for the longest because most of the kids at their school were Mexican. Yeah. So they didn't look any different than the other kids, because they're very, light complected. But at the same time, they'll have that where it's like, sometimes with the white people, maybe they're not white enough, or the black people, maybe they're not black enough, or whatever. I always just try to keep into consideration that their experience, just what their experience is growing up. And just because I was tough for certain things, that might not be how it is for them. I might have had thick skin. I used to get bullied, and I don't mean like social media bullying, which is serious too. I mean physically bullied. So, some of those things kind of kept me.
By who?
By older white people. You know what I'm saying? They were maybe like 2 to 5 years older than me, but they let me know. You know what I'm saying? They let me know all the time. That they didn't like what I was doing, but I didn't let it stop me. But I'm saying that to say that getting physically bullied. I always it just put something in me to say, all right, I'm going to get past this. I know this isn't going to be my experience forever, and I'm going to use this to show love instead of showing the hate. Because when the love is always stronger than the hate, and that's what I try to teach my kids is that you gonna have the hate, and if you looking for it, you gonna find it. Yeah, for sure. If you're looking for the racism, you definitely gonna find it. But if you looking for the love, you'll find that too. If you're looking for acceptance or any of these other things, you're gonna find it. So just look for what you want. What do you want out of life? Look for that and you're gonna find it.
Man, speaking of love, I want to transition it to something that I believe is so dope, but also had more questions. Your wife, Crystal, shout out to Crystal.
Man, my wife just got a shout out from Cam Newton.
Man, listen.
Oh yeah, wait till I tell her that, boy.
She gonna see it. She gonna see
I'm getting some when I get home.
Bro, you've been married for over 20 years.
Yeah.
In an industry that publicizes or normalizes womanizing, or normalizes having multiple, normalizes just so much, and it comes off as degrading. Let's just call it how it is. When you're traveling, when you're going to do certain shows around certain people, the temptation is there. What's the secret?
Well, I think coming from a broken home, then my mom remarried, and she's still married to my stepfather to this day. You know, it lets you see both sides of it. You know, what do you want? What do I want? And I wanted something I didn't have. You know, I want to be in a marriage where we can make it last and we can love each other and be happy. And now we're not cheating on each other behind each other back. Now, I will say this, knowing a lot of other married people have, you know, different wants or needs in their relationships. So I know some people that in open marriages. I know some people that, you know, the husband cheat on the wife cheat on the husband, but they make it work. So, you know, it's all about how you make it work for you. But what I wanted to be a father to my kids their whole life. We're in a husband and wife situation their whole life, so they can see a positive thing. Now, me and my wife, we argue all the time, but the stuff we argue about is like, you know, leaving the lights on, or, you know, maybe kind of minor things compared to what some of my friends argue with their girls about, you know. Yeah. But, you know, my wife, her parents, you know, were married for 30-some years before, you know, her father passed away, and then recently her mother passed away. And my grandparents, you know, they were married until they passed away. So I had positive role models where in marriages that lasted, that, you know, inspired me to want to be that. And I remember, you know, coming up, since Sideways coming out, Grillz coming out, all of that, you know, I'd bring my wife with me here and there. And I remember one of the executives telling me, like, hey, maybe you should leave her on the side. You know, America's not ready for an interracial couple like this and that, you know. And I'm like, man, what are you talking about? Hell no. Because I'm proud of my wife, you know. As much as I pray for, you know, my career, that's something I prayed for even harder, was to find, you know, my partner who, you know, would inspire me to be a better me, you know.
Do you think it helped that both of you kind of came from a situation where her parents were together, your mom remarried and is still together?
Absolutely. And my wife came from a big family, so, you know, her family is, you know, they're from Fifth Ward, Houston, Texas. And her parents came from Louisiana to Fifth Ward. But, you know, her whole family in Fifth Ward is a little bit of everything. So you got some that are divorced, but there's also a few that are married. They've been married one time, you know, and they made it work. They've been married 50 years, wow. You know, so it's very inspiring to see that, and it's kind of set the standard. Now, you know, her family is also very accepting of, you know, if whatever happened, you know, just because that was their walk doesn't mean it's gonna be yours. So, you know, it's like, yeah, if you get divorced, it happens, but there's an encouragement to stick together. Yeah. Some of my biggest role models is her aunt, Sabrina, and her uncle Keith. You know, they've been married forever, and they're, you know, happily married. They love each other, and this is like, okay, that's who we want to be. Yeah. When we're that age, and they're only just a little bit older than us, but them just being a little bit older than us is like the immediate, you walking and you see the footsteps in front of you, yeah. Okay, that's the path I'm walking, and you just follow in those footsteps.
Man, that's interesting that you speak about. During our preparation, you know, we've seen an interview, you know, you're talking about not hiding marriage, you know, and one of the quotes was, you didn't know a person was married until they come out to say that they got a divorce. Yeah. You feel what I'm saying? Yeah. Which is actually true. But at the same time, a person, one of my son's good friends is Halo. His father's 2 Chainz. They go to the same school as T.I., seeing, you know, Tiny and T.I. still rocking and rolling together. Had the opportunity to talk to Ice Cube. And these are individuals who have been able to still maneuver, throughout the temptations of what comes with being not a rapper, just being a known public figure.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying? So I have my reservations about marriage, and it's not that I don't believe in it. It's just what I was experienced, what I have experienced, it has kind of skewed. Not from when I was in the house. I mean, my parents had just celebrated 41 years of marriage. And growing up in church, those are the things that I kind of, hold and still hold dear to me. But when you get out into the world and you become, we're far away from Kansas now, and you start seeing, this is how cats really are doing it. What were some of the examples that you had? And not only that, but the second one is, do you still have close confidants that are single, you know what I'm saying, in that type of transition, in a serious relationship?
Yeah, I've always realized that everybody's walk is different, you know what I'm saying? So some people, they're not really maybe meant to be married, sometimes it's because of what they saw, or like you say, your personal experiences. Like my boy Slim Thug, I don't know if he'll ever be married. He always say, man, sometimes he'll say, man, I want what you and Crystal got, but I also want to be single. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it's just is what it is. And you can definitely be single and still be a great parent, or be a great, partner in your relationship, even if you're not married. Sometimes when you get married, it puts a lot of restrictions and expectations on the relationship that make it fall apart, So, I mean, I don't think a relationship is a success or failure based off of the marriage. You know what I'm saying? It's people, you could be together 50, 60 years and never be married. And some people will be like, oh, but they never went all the way. Well, what if they would have went all the way and then got divorced a year later? How you measure the success can be different for each person. But I've always felt like, I want to focus on what I want most, not what I want right now. And a lot of people will sacrifice what they want most for what's right now in front of them. Could be you exercising and you on a diet trying to look good for the summer, but you throwing it away because you see the commercial for the food, or you get hungry and you want, the cake or the sweets, or it could be whatever. It don't even got to be cake. It could be a burger or something. But, and I don't know. I've always been a sacrifice kind of person where if I want something, I feel like I got to sacrifice to get it. And what I want most is I want to be, married my whole life to my wife. She's inspired me. She supports me. She's my best friend, and this is just what I really enjoy. I enjoy being married to her. And I don't know if it'd be like that with another girl, another woman. You know what I'm saying?
But dog, it's I don't know if men can say this word, but it's cute to kind of hear. Bruh, it's charming.
Yeah.
You feel me? Like, I respect that.
Yeah.
And I always use Funky Friday as a platform to vent, and also this is stress relieving for me. Bro, my hero is my dad. I say that ad nauseum. I have great sources around me that I look at their relationship. My older brother, Cecil, CJ, has been married to his wife, Bethany, over a decade now. And then you have, my younger brother who got married, 3 years ago, and it's like, dang, it's happening around me. So I got examples of doing it. But the thing that, it's just tough because none of them live my life.
Yeah. Well, your path different than theirs.
And that's
it's
where
hard
I'm at.
getting other people to see your perspective because all they see is theirs.
And it's not an excuse, and I'm not giving myself an excuse, and I don't want people to hear that, because my children deserve a stable household, and I believe I'm doing that now. But when you say certain things, it's like, bro, I just want to be married. Hell, I do too. You know what I'm saying? I can hear the comments down. It's like, well, get married then. not that easy.
Yeah, it's definitely
You feel what I'm saying? I want you to talk about Crystal because she sounds like a hell of a woman, bro. How has she helped you as a man growing up, into the man that you are today, the father as well as the businessman?
Man, the first thing that comes to mind is cussing. I grew up going to the church, so I didn't cuss. And my mom would be like, my mom was a school teacher. She taught kindergarten and first grade for like 20, 30 years, forever. So she would always like challenge me. Like, oh, you gonna say those words? You're not creative enough to say something different? So that's kind of, that combination with me growing up in the church made me, all right, I'm not cussing. So I didn't cuss in my like daily life, didn't cuss when I was rapping. I'd listen to cuss words and I wasn't like judgmental about people that cuss. I just personally chose not to cuss. And I remember my wife used to clown me because instead of saying like fuck, I'd say cluck, or make ish, just make my own cuss words.
That's my younger brother. My younger brother don't curse, bro.
Yeah.
Like, bro, that dude's so cool, man. But then, I was talking to Shells. Like, I'm like, well, my little brother lame, though.
That's how my wife was.
You feel what I'm saying?
Look.
She was like, you lame. But nah, he is everything that I want to be. Yeah. And I'm trying to become lame or socially disconnected to what other people may think. And that's what makes me so, like, I value him because he's bow-legged. And I ain't talking about, like, regular bow. Like, he has accepted, like, bro, this is my superpower. And he'll say, freak! I'm like, bro. And I'm like, bro, just say it. And his wife, we all tease because we work out. And he'll say, it's a freak. Man, what happened? Man, I just spilled my drink. I'm like, darn. You know what I'm saying? Dang. And having that discipline with controlling your tongue is something so small that if you're able to do that, it's a wonder of what else you could do. You know what I'm saying?
That's probably why I never said the N-word. That's probably why I started. Also, I grew up in a house where my grandpa would have whooped my mama would have whooped my ass if she ever heard me say the N-word. Nobody could say it, even, no matter what race she was in my house. But if I said it, oh man, I'd have got whooping out of this world. So, but not cussing is like, well, if I'm not gonna cuss, I'm gonna use my church, language. I'm definitely not gonna say the N-word. Mm-hmm. And going back to your earlier question, that's my biggest advice to any white person that's in the world, period, but navigating in a black entertainment industry or in a black culture is just don't say the N-word.
Yeah.
And that's not just to white people, to any non-black people, just don't say the N-word. Yeah. And it's very hard for a lot of people for some reason. It's never been hard for me. I never wanted to. I never felt the urge to. I never was like, oh, I just wish I could say it. Oh, I want to say it one time. It's never been like that for me, but that's probably why I never said the N-word.
To the state of that, though, and I want to take this time to kind of explain from my experience, like being a black man, I don't think a lot of cultures realize the state of oppression that word comes with. And, when you have experienced the things that I've experienced, you have many relationships with different people. And one of the most interesting, impactful conversations that I had was with a white man about, racism. And this is a person who is a mentor of mine. And he was like, well, I don't think anybody should say it because he was telling this to me. He was asking, do you think black people are aware of how other people see them when they say it around them?
So and that's a me perspective. Me. You say it, I can't. You,
for
whatever.
Sure. I never thought about that. I never looked at it and it's like, bro, you're in a business dynamic, and you say it, and then boom, that automatically eliminates a lot of responses that could be had.
Yeah.
Then when you talk about the creativity, the range of your vernacular, the range of the words that you use. And being from where I'm from, College Park, Atlanta, Georgia, it's certain things that, bro, I'm around folks that don't care if they're around the president of the United States. They gonna still, speak how they speak.
Yeah.
So I see it on both sides. It's just my challenge to everybody is just be aware.
Yeah.
There's a time and a place for everything. The great book says that, but at the same time, if you're in a dynamic, I had a college weight room or strength coach that had checked a black player for saying, hey, if you don't want me to say that word, you can't say it either. And as soon as he said it, it was just like he seen a ghost. He was like, what do you want me to say? It's like, no, you can't say it. He's like, for sure, but I don't feel comfortable with you saying that. And it just gives different perspective.
Yeah.
I'm not here to say that nobody should say it because I'm guilty of saying the word earlier, you know what I'm saying? So it just comes at a point where we have to empathize of what the feeling is on all sides, not just through a black lens.
Yeah, I'll deal with some people who will be like, oh, well, they say it in music all the time. They say it all the time. And, they clearly don't understand the weight of the word. And it is absolutely different if a black person is saying it versus a non-black person. It's like, kind of like, to a much lesser extent, but kind of like if a girl calls another girl a bitch, it's like, well, you ain't or like how on the block bitch, but we don't mean it like in a derogatory term. Even if I'm calling you bitch, hey, pass me this cigar, bitch. Yeah. It's like a word for bro.
Yeah.
We don't mean it in a derogatory way.
Bro.
But it's different if we call each other that and someone else is like, hey, bitch, such and such. It's like, what'd you say?
For sure. I think black people use the N-word as a term of endearment. It sounds toxic, but it just is what it is. We always turn, our pain into a positive. And it's almost like I can call him that or I can call her that, but you can't. It's like I hear my children, they got their own room, the playroom. And what goes on in the playroom stays in the playroom. Yeah. You feel me?
Yeah.
And it's like
I know that. I know. I hear my man playing the game like, man, what you say?
It's one of them things that they're building that trust and unity that, one of my sons is conscientious of his size. You fat. Shut up, man. Stop calling me fat. Yeah. And then another one, he's not fat. Another one, man, you short. That's why I'm taller. Yeah. And then if they leave that house and then they go out and somebody says that to them, that group now feels loyal to say, no. Don't get too comfortable. Because that's our relationship. That's not your relationship. Right. You feel what I'm saying? So it's an endearment thing, and I know exactly what you're referring to.
Sometimes people will say, "Oh, you got the N-word pass. Oh, Power, I'm gonna give you the N-word pass," or something like that. Or hey, how's it feel to you got the N-word pass? I don't know. I ain't never said it, so I don't know how it feel. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I've always that's part of the the superpower of it is respecting the boundaries of people call me the N-word all the time, and I don't feel no way. I mean, I grew up in a culture where people say it all the time. But if I was to say it, even me and you might be best friends or whatever. You might call me that all the time. But if I was to say it, you immediately gonna look at me different, like it don't hit the same. Mm-hmm. If certain people say it, and I don't know. I don't want to let my mama down. That's the number one reason why you'll never hear me say that. If somebody ever say that, I remember one time my homegirl Annie Sue Walker, she was black, but growing up in kindergarten, first grade, I remember one time.
Annie Sue?
Yeah. Jeez. That's a hell of a name.
That is.
That's probably why I never forgot. But I remember one time she thought I called her the N-word, and I was like, no, I didn't, because I never used it in my life, so I couldn't have called you that. She was like, you called me that. And I was, no, I did. What are you talking about? I never said that. And but it's one of those things. It's like I say. I never had the desire to wanna say it.
Yeah.
Big shout out to Annie Sue. She also she graduated high school early, a year early. Her and another girl, Sharice, She was black as well. They both graduated early, and I remember clowning them. Like, man, y'all some nerds. And they were like, what you talking about? You in the same class as us. Yeah. You could do it too. So I graduated high school a year early too. No way. Because of them, because of Andy, Sue, and Sharice.
That's too hard. So I'm asking for the woman who's watching. They want to know if Crystal can fight. And I'm asking because being a male figure, an attractive male figure to some, one could assume that a lot of people or chicks throw themselves at you.
Yeah, Crystal can definitely fight. She definitely can fight.
Yeah.
And she, we done been in situations before where we'll see that, and, I kind of take the onus or the responsibilities on me to kind of navigate. If somebody's coming up to me, kind of throwing themselves at me, I got to be like, whoa. and because I know what it's going to lead to. I remember there's been times, matter of fact, we was in New Orleans one time, and she came, somewhere with me, like to an album release party. We had a club or a concert. I don't know what it was, but a concert. And we remember, a couple girls on the side being like, oh, that's him. That's his girl right there, whatever, this and that. And then they come up to me, oh, hey. But almost on purpose, just to kind of like mess with her.
Trigger her.
Yeah, and, I remember it always stuck with me. I still remember it always stuck with me because it's like, okay, how I navigate this, how I handle this is going to, ease the tension so that there's not a fight. I gotta be a whoa, hey, whoa, I'm married, hey, what up? That don't mean, I'm not gonna, Paul, hey, can I have a hug? Y'all give you a hug, but it's not a, hey, can I have a hug? And it's like I'm married, you know what I'm saying? Or, it's definitely a amount of respect I show my wife. I always look at it like, I treat people, women, as if she's right there over my shoulder. How would I act if she's right there over my shoulder? That's how I gotta act when she's not there. But especially if she's there, it's like hey, this is my wife. Please don't disrespect her with your actions of being all over me. But being a zaddy, you know what I'm saying? It's like a new thing to me. Cause I came up, I was fat. When I came up in, on the mainstream, I wasn't a zaddy. I didn't have girls, all over me like that.
You was a cool dude.
Yeah, we'd be at the shows. It'd be like, okay, all the baddies that's in the crowd, they for sure there for Slim Thug. They wasn't there for me. Yeah. It's only more recently that they coming to see me. But it's one of those things too where nobody want to talk to you till you got a girlfriend, and everybody want to talk to you.
Yeah.
And I see that, and I know that being married, it is attractive to other people sometimes, just because I'm married. So, I don't want to jeopardize my marriage based off of something that's, fake, or it's just they're attracted to me being married. So what, I'm gonna cheat on my wife with, with them?
So let me ask you this. Creating music for as long as you've created, and having certain songs or lyrics that is created, has that ever sparked or triggered a conversation for you in your relationship?
Not necessarily. My wife was a singer as well. She came up in a singing group. They weren't, they never released anything, but she was a full-time singer in the studio every day, exercising, doing choreography. That's kind of how she transitioned into doing dance fitness, because she already was choreographing her own dance moves while she sang. And I bring her in the studio. She sings, on every now and then. She had a bad experience when their group broke up. So for a long time, it broke her heart with music. It was real painful for her to create music. But I saw that, and I also knew that this was her dream too at one point. So let me help facilitate it, even if it's through my career. So my wife actually has some classic songs with Lil Kiki and a few other people, that I'm not even on, I'm not even a part of, which to me is dope as hell, man. But even when it comes to me, she's on my new album a couple times, but it's like pulling nails and pulling teeth to get her to come in the studio with me to do a song. I gotta beg her, I gotta bug her, I gotta bribe her.
Listen, but even with that, I saw a video with you creating the lyrics for the Jill Scott song, and big shout out Jill Scott. She the dopest.
Yeah,
it's something about her, man.
Yeah. Her energy is like no other. Her energy, like when you with her, you can feel it when she walk in the room. I've only felt this with like a few people. Honorable Louis Farrakhan.
Wow.
We walk in the room, even if you're not looking, you can feel it. And it's like, man, why does it feel different all of a sudden? And it's Jill Scott definitely got that aura about her where it's a contagious aura and you can feel that energy.
Let me just say this, man. I've always been a Jill Scott fan. Jill, if you see this, when you see this, girl, bring your assets and amenities to Funky Friday. I love to talk to her. But, as you were, speaking about that and creating that song, she was directing you.
Absolutely.
For that. And
I'm walking on eggshells doing the song because I'm thinking my mama listen to Jill Scott. My aunties listen to Jill Scott.
Yeah.
They gonna hear this, so I don't want to be on there, talking too
Seductive,
crazy.
yeah.
And Jill Scott like, nah, I want you to say this. I want you to say it like that.
Mm-hmm.
She definitely, she guided me on my journey. Yeah. Also, I don't know, me and Jill Scott, we've been friends for a long time. So when we did the song, we were already friends. But I'm still respecting who she is. I'm thinking about her listeners. I don't want to be the only one on here talking crazy, but then I realized, well, this is why she got me on here, was to talk, in a very sexual manner. And a lot of that came from the song specifically because, it was personal to her. This is a vision she had. I want you on here, to rap in this way, because this is like almost a character you're playing on the song, and this is, a real life situation. So she definitely brought it out of me.
When we look at you and we see growth, I was reading about you and your best friend Chamillionaire and the work it took to repair you guys' brotherhood, going from neighbors in that transition to even having a group. We don't need to get into what actually happened, but as men, that's not easy for us to, kind of make amends when there is a thing we all have as men as egos and alphas. How were you guys able to kind of come back to each other in a masculine way?
We grew up together, we pursued our rap dreams together. And then at some point, we went on our separate ways, and it definitely ended on bad terms. But at the same time, I think we both realized we have our own paths, and they might have started from the same spot, and they might be intertwined here and there, but, they're separate paths. Even if the destination is the same, it's a separate path. Mm-hmm. And we also both hold each other in high regard, and we hold the perception other people have of us in high regard and what we represent. So we know that, if I'm airing out his dirty laundry, he airing out my dirty laundry, or even though we both wash our own clothes, so it ain't too much dirty laundry, but if we on here just talking crazy about each other and growing up in the era of the East Coast, West Coast, Tupac, Biggie beef, we know how sometimes the more, salacious things will, be the headline. Yeah. So, they're just trying to get you out of your bubble just to say, fuck him, just so that, he said it. Yeah. It's like, we know that can happen. So we've always, walked sensitively. Even when we were having our problems, it was like, yeah, we got problems, I don't mess with him, but this ain't about him, it's about me, and we both felt like that, and then, what I'm saying? And we didn't want to tarnish the iconic thing we built, Pow Wow Chamillionaire, us as a group, a duo, us within the Swishahouse. We didn't want to tarnish that at all, what I'm saying? And we knew that if we start doing that, people pick sides. And, there definitely was people that, maybe favored me or maybe favored him. So they might have picked a side, but we never forced nobody to choose. We never wanted to do that. And I think some of it, too, also is knowing each other's families. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to say nothing too crazy because I know his family. He don't want to say nothing too crazy. He know my family. And
do you ever see a collaboration in music again?
For sure. And we put our, I think a big part of it was we were able to achieve success apart from each other to kind of give ourselves the validation of, we don't need each other, but definitely when we're together, it's something special. So since then, we've done a tour together a few times. Every now and then we'll do a show together. Every now and then we'll do a song together. He, for the most part, hasn't been making music as much, although he's recently gotten into it a little bit more. He kind of took a break for a while, making big money and other stuff. Yeah, he making so much money. He like, well, what I'm gonna make music for, know? But he still has a love for it and a passion for it, so he still does.
Yeah.
But we'll for sure continue to do music. It'll be off and on. It'll be, anytime I've ever asked him to do something, he'll do it. Mm-hmm. And for sure, anything he asks me to do, I'm gonna do it. For sure. But it's something I don't take advantage of.
Let me ask you, as you've been in this music industry for a long time, do you think it's a recipe that's a ticking time bomb of coming in as a group? Because you see so many different groups split.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And it's not just, that example of yourself. You can go R&B group. You can go pop group.
Right.
You can go hip hop group. You can go gospel group. You know what I'm saying? And you come in one way, and then as you kind of grow, it's inevitable.
Yeah.
So do you feel like a person coming in the industry of music, it's only a matter of time until they split?
Absolutely. No group lasts forever. No group lasts forever. Without certain members getting replaced or somebody having a solo career, but or somebody breaking off and they not a part of the group no more. It almost always is money, but the other part is the ego. And, we saw it early on, me and Chamillionaire, where we're a duo, we go somewhere, we're in there, talking to somebody, and then, I leave, and somebody's like, hey, you're way harder than Paul Wall, you're way better than him, this and that, and then he leaves, and I'm there, and they tell me the same thing, you're way better than him, and it's the same person. So a lot of that is people will gas you up because they just want to, sometimes they don't know what to say, and they're just saying whatever the first thing come to mind. Sometimes they got ulterior motives where they're trying to get close to you, and they feel like the best way to get close to you is to divide or put a wedge between you and somebody else.
Yeah.
But we saw that, we realized it was kind of fake, of people trying to, see the hatred of us, and we were like, man, they planting these seeds where they're trying to break us up. But I think at the end of the day, for us, we weren't meant to be a group forever. It was a temporary era in our careers that maybe one day we might revisit in terms of doing another album together and on a mixtape. This is my dream to make music. So I've branched off doing other things, even Grillz. I can make way more money doing Grillz than music. And if I didn't make music and I spent full time doing Grillz, oh man, yeah. Oh yeah, I'd have flew in on a PJ. You know what I'm saying? But my dream, my passion is music. Yeah. This is something that I love to do. So, I've seen how people are creative in their releases, and I've shared this with Millionaire, because Millionaire he is kind of anti-industry. The music industry, how it takes advantage of the artist, how it gives the artist the crumbs, and they take the cake, but you just get the crumbs. He's anti that, so he's very vocal on sharing his knowledge of the tricks that the industry will play on artists. So when it comes to making music, he said, man, I just don't want to, give my music away. I work, this is something a lot of people who from the older generations of music will experience, where you make your music and then you put it out and you go super hard on putting it out, and then a week later, no one cares because they're on to the next artist. It's the microwave industry, and he's just like, man, he's been, I think, trying to navigate how to give his music to people who really want to listen to it, who really enjoy it. And it's not monetary-wise. That's a big part of it, of why am I doing this, just to give it away for free for somebody to listen to it on one of these streaming platforms where nobody's making money except for the conglomerate. You know, this just is not, it's not fair to the artist, to me, to the next artist. And so, you know, he has a point. He definitely has a point. But, talking to him, having conversations with him, I've shared, you know, like, hey, we can be creative, not we as a group, for sure that, but we as artists can be creative on how we do this. We don't have to, you know, put our music on Spotify or YouTube, but if you're working out in the gym and you listening to the music on your headphones, how are you listening to it? On Spotify or YouTube?
For sure.
If you got it on a USB or you got a physical
flash
CD,
drive,
they don't, you're not, you know, so you're only limiting your reach when you choose these things. But we absolutely can do. We can put our music on vinyl only, where it's only on vinyl. That's the only way you can get it. And that's kind of one of the things I've suggested to him was, hey man, why don't we do something, you know, down the line one day where we limit it, where we're capping off how many albums we're gonna sell. It's not on digital streaming services at all, only physical product, and there's only this amount, where we're limiting it to the, you know, real fans that have been down with us from the beginning or who are begging us, because there is, you know, I have a diverse fan base. And there is a portion, it's a very small portion at this point, because a lot of people who know me from like Still Tipping and Grillz, they don't even know I was in a group with Chamillionaire. Because when we came on the mainstream, we were already our separate ways, so they don't know any of that. But you know, the people that do, especially specifically in like Texas or Louisiana, Oklahoma, maybe Cleveland, and Florida, and Texarkana, some of Arkansas. You know, it's kind of, and it skips over some places, but it's kind of the places where people from Texas went to go to college, or, you know, there's military bases, you know what I'm saying? People from Texas would go there to the military, and so there's like certain areas of fans where they'll still say, hey, when you come in, they're gonna do something again. And it might be the first time I heard it all year, but that person who asked it, you know, they get a left leg for a Powwow Chamillionaire album.
You mentioned something, and I always ask artists this, especially the ones who came up during this era of music making. Do you ever think that there will be another push for mixtapes, or is mixtapes dead?
I think it will. I'm seeing a kind of resurgence of it now. That's how, you know, it's kind of like if you're an R&B singer and you're trying to get people to listen to your original music, but they usually skip, you know, next. But if they see you singing Change Don't Come, or see you sing a cover, where they like, man, he killed that cover. So in hip hop, our covers are, you know, freestyling over other people's songs, or, you know, and us coming up in the Swishahouse, you know, that's what we would do. We would take other people's beats and take their hook melody, but change the words. You know, take their flow pattern, but change, you know, do it our way.
Or even subject matter.
Or subject matter, exactly. And I've seen it, you know, a resurgence of that, of up and coming artists who will be like, you know, a lot of it comes from when they go on, you know, radio shows or podcasts and they do a freestyle and they play beats. So they'll play like Still Tipping, and, you know, or any of these, you know, hip hop beats. And you see somebody freestyling over the beat, and that's like their cover. So I definitely have seen like a resurgence of the mixtapes, and I think it will get to where it used to be. But I think for it to get to that, the money has to be there. Because back in the days when we making mixtapes, we making money. We making money, the stores making money, the bootleggers making money. How are we making it then, or how are we gonna do it now?
No, I'm saying like, explain how you made money off mixtapes. Because the mixtapes, from what I remember, it was free. You know, we would have streaming services like Bear Share, Live Mixtape, Mixtape Monkey.
That's the pros and the cons of it. You know, the free will help it expand. You know, it helps you reach. When it's free, or if somebody's bootleg, you know, it's like a love-hate relationship with the bootleggers, because the bootleggers in our era, I didn't come up in the streaming. I came up before that. So our era was, we would rap on a Swishahouse mixtape, Michael Watts and Ron C would sell them to us as artists for a price, maybe $3. That was usually the price, $3. And we'd buy them for $3 and then go around and sell them to stores for $7 or $8, or we sell them on the street for 15 or 10 or whatever, so it was a real hand-to-hand hustle of I'm selling my mixtape. And I started selling Swishahouse mixtapes before I was even on a Swishahouse mixtape. So, because I was doing promotions for the Swishahouse before I was ever on one. So I'm selling them, that was part of my come up in the Swishahouse, was started passing out flyers, getting shout outs from OG Ron C to I'm the one, me and my boy T Ferris, we'd be in there pressing up CDs for Watts or for Ron C, and then we'd be the distributor. I'd drive to Dallas or Louisiana, he'd drive to Nacogdoches or wherever, and we would deliver them to the stores, and we'd pick up the money. We'd have bulk orders, 100 of this, 100 of that, 50 of this, 20 of that, and then, here's the check or here's the cash, and we bring it back. That was our job in the Swishahouse before T. Ferris became a manager for me, and Megan Thee Stallion now, he's big time. Or, even before I rapped on the Swishahouse, that was, my job or how I came up. And that's how we would make our money. It was kind of like, if you want to go out there and make money, it's there to be made, but you gotta hand-to-hand do it. So now, I think it has to get to that. Now all it is just the expanse, the expansion.
The way of getting or obtaining music is so accessible, through streaming platforms where, it'd be hit or miss.
Yeah.
I've seen, what's my man, Chance the Rapper.
Yeah.
He has this cult-like following with his audience that, man, it was something that he was showing me or showing us, like you could tap it on your phone and then boom, you could download it. It was so interesting or intriguing to kind of see, because as independent artists, this is your means of eating, of providing, I want to talk to you about something. You mentioned Michael 5000 Watts being a big part of you being and becoming who you are. First and foremost, I want to say my condolences to his family as well, too. What's his legacy, and name the people he gave a big platform to in that whole realm of people that kind of came from his umbrella?
I think it was kind of maybe threefold. One, it was the rappers. Two, it was, the other DJs that were around him, like OG Ron C or some of the other DJs that kind of came up under him. And then the third is the artists that he would chop and screw their albums. If you're like a mainstream artist and he chop and screw your music, that was how we listened to music, chop and screw. So a lot of people trying to break into the Texas market, they'd be like, all right, well, we got to get it chopped and screwed, because that's how they listen to it. And that allowed them to kind of break into the Texas market. That allowed us as Texans to really accept them, because it's like, oh, they showing us love, they got to chop and screw, oh, that's what's up. They food is like that. But when it comes to the artists, for sure, Slim Thug is kind of the one that started it. There was definitely a lot of artists before him, but when Slim Thug came to the Swishahouse, it just was like another level. And then, there's others, me and Chamillionaire, of course, Mike Jones. Now look, there's probably 50 Swishahouse artists, but if I name 45 of them, you might have never heard of them. You know what I'm saying? I might know them, and they might be like legends to me, but the general public might not necessarily know them. And, like my boy J-Dog. J-Dog is a Texas legend when it comes to music. And the style of music J-Dog does is that pain, that struggle music. So he's got the fan base where we love J-Dog. You know what I'm saying? And he came up in the Swishahouse with us as well. Or Lil Mario, who came. Lil Mario is, I always get credited with coining the term "what it do," but really I got that from Lil Mario. That was something Lil Mario, and I don't even know if he made it up. But it's just something that, but he really popularized it for me in our neighborhood, and that's just, it kind of transferred. But there's a lot of others too as well, man. Like, of course, Mike Jones, like I say, Chamillionaire. And then there's a few others, Magnificent, and we call him Magno. But Mike Jones and Magno were like the Paul Walker Millionaire the next duo or group, because they were like a duo. Even though they were solo artists, they kind of came out as a duo.
Yeah.
And everybody I named is still making music, still creating music,
Mike
still
Jones
dropping
is?
music. Man, still Mike Jones. Still. Mike Jones?
Looking at.
Boy, Mike Jones killing it right now too, man. He
Yeah.
just he everywhere. He's having like a resurgence of his own as well.
I want to ask you this, man. Being men, how has your grief journey been? You know, just with that and being faced with a loss. And I don't ask this enough to men, but when was the last time you cried?
Last night, probably. I don't know. I'm a crybaby, man. I'm sensitive. I'm super sensitive, man. But I cry all the time, man. I'm a bitch when it comes to crying, man. My wife always toughen up. She toughen me up, man. She don't never like ridicule me for being sensitive or nothing. Yeah. But she for sure is my backbone. You know what I'm saying? But dealing with that grief is serious, man. And you know, I'm at an age where it's like one, and then you're still grieving that one, and somebody else dies, and you're grieving that, and then somebody else dies, and it's like we haven't even really, you know, dealt with, you know,
fully compartmentalized or fleshed out
that's part of what Michael 5000 Watts did. Right before he died, somebody else close to us died. And then right after he died, shortly after, my mother-in-law died. So it's like, man, and then there's the aspect of I'm trying to grieve, but also, you know, grieving somebody who I love, who just gave me an opportunity of a lifetime that changed my life completely. You know, I'm dealing with it, but I can't fully deal with it because there's, you know, the expectations other people have of I'm the one they lean on to deal with his death, or me being so associated with him publicly because of our music journey. You know, I got to be the one that's strong for everybody else. You know what I'm saying? Of, you know, the celebration of life we had for him was tough because it's like, man, I'm over here trying to, you know, get myself together, and just one by one is, oh, you know, let me take a picture, or let me do this, or let me, you know, whatever. And it's like, man, this ain't really the time for pictures, you know what I'm saying? But it just is what it is, you know, and trying to uphold the legacy. Like his birthday was last week, June 7th, you know what I'm saying? So it's one of them things where it's like, it's hard to come to these memorial forum, or, you know, like we're doing something in the neighborhood, or we're doing it. It's hard to be there because I'm there trying to hold in my feelings of, you know, of grief, but at the same time, I gotta put on a happy face. So I gotta, you know, be here to remember all the good times. That's what we definitely want to remember the good times, you know what I'm saying? But it's definitely very difficult, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then when it's one after another, it just piles on, and it's
Bro, I ain't gonna lie.
tough.
I'm at a point in my life, bro, where an emotional cloud has hit home. And I asked you when the last time you cried. Bro, I cried last night for real.
Wait a minute, what time? We might have been crying at the same time.
Hey, bro. I ain't gonna lie, bro. Man, my lady asked me, she was like, man, what was the best part of this past weekend? And we had just came from a 7-on-7 tournament with my all-star team, and I had the opportunity to take my son. And she asked me that. It was random. You know, she was doing her, this is when we have our little, own isolated time in our relationship. She doing her nightly routines, serums and all that. And she was like, baby, what was the best part of this weekend? And I just paused and thought about it. I was like, man, I got the opportunity to spend some quality, isolated time with my son, Kamitis. And I call him Shug. And having 9 children, that's a challenge to have individual time. And it wasn't that he was around me all weekend, it was a specific time. Bro, me and my son was just walking the mall. No interruptions, no distractions. And he's 7. And he was talking to me as if I was 7. Or I was talking to him as if he was 37.
Yeah.
He was like, man, Daddy, man, he's cool right here. Hey, Daddy, that's Michael Jordan right there. I said, I asked him, I was like, what team did Michael Jordan play for? He played for Chicago Bulls. He's like, yeah, hey, I don't want this right here. It's like we're literally having a conversation as if this is not my son, this is my best friend, this is my partner. You feel what I'm saying? And he was like, man, I like these shoes right here. And I'm seeing him grow up right before my eyes, and I'm saying to myself, bro, I have rendered my time, energy, effort, expertise, experiences to other people. That's my restitution to the world. And sometimes you can lose sight that you're overlooking your own household because your heart is so big, but it's just like, man, these small little monsters is still wanting you to be dad.
Yeah.
And that moment was a reminder that, dog, this dude gonna remember this for the rest of his life. I'm gonna remember this for the rest of my life. Just knowing, just walking the mall, passing by cookie stores and jewelry stores and shoes and stuff, and just peeping how he's changing right before my eyes, man. It was just so emotional. And I wasn't afraid to just let it out. And it was like, it wasn't tears of fear or tears of anything other than joy.
Yeah.
And like, if I could just bottle that up, as a man, as a leader in the household, it was just beautiful just to tap into that emotion. I would just challenge any other man, you know what I'm saying, to do that, because it's like, that's dope. You feel me? Like, I'd never seen my dad cry until, you know, my grandmother passed a year ago. And it was shocking because I'm like, whoa, whoa, like this my, you know, hero. Like, whoa, Pop, you good? You straight? Like, nah, it's like, and when you see that take place in front of you, you don't know how to process that. You feel me? So I would normalize that for any man that kind of sees that message, because it's definitely needed, bro. Another thing, dog, that is tender, but so gratifying to kind of hear. I want to talk about your role in your mother's life as her primary caregiver. And it's tough to see your parents age, but it's also tough to be the caregiver. What have you learned throughout this experience now that the roles have reversed? I was reminded by the video that I seen, you know, you telling your mom, like, let's dance. You feel what I'm saying? It's so cool to just kind of see, but as life happens, now you've taken on this role. How has that process been for you?
My mom has always been my hero, you know, so to be able to share this time with her, and I have a lot of friends who have lost their mother, and not too long ago, maybe last year or the year before, time flies, I don't know, but not too long ago, my boy G-Nut lost his mother, you know, and I have several friends who have lost their mother, and my boy G-Nut was taking care of his mom the same way. And, you know, when he lost his mother, it's like you'd give anything to be able to take her to the doctor one more time, or to help her use the restroom, or help her sit down or something, or whatever she, you know, hey, where you at? Hey, come home, because I need the remote. I can't find it. You know, he'd do anything to stop what he's doing to bring his mama the remote again. So seeing that right before my mom couldn't walk. My mom, she ended up falling and hitting her head. She would fall every now and then, but one time she fell, and that was it, kind of, where it's like, okay, her right leg and her right hand don't work. It's not because of a stroke. She has something called Parkinsonians, and it just is, it just, her right hand don't work, right leg don't work. She has something else called corticobasal degeneration, where it just, I don't know what it is, but everything ain't working, like her bodily functions. And my mother-in-law, rest in peace, she just passed away a couple months ago. She had dementia, Alzheimer's dementia, full stages. But, you know, first my mother-in-law moved in with us, and she didn't have anybody else to take care of her. Anybody else that would take care of her that wouldn't prey on her finances or something. My father-in-law worked for the railroad for 30 plus years. So he had amazing benefits. My mother-in-law, they got passed on to my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law, she worked as a teacher for a long time, so she got amazing teacher benefits. So, You know, some people, they see the paycheck coming in and they're like, yeah, she can come live with me, you know, but me being somebody who don't need that, it's like, I don't need your money. You come live with us. We want to take care of you. That's money's for you. You know, so when my mother-in-law moved in, it was something I was like really kind of encouraging for my mother-in-law. You know, it's like, man, we need her to come stay with us. Because if we don't take care of her, no one's gonna take care of her.
The right way.
The right way, right. Give her the sunset that she deserves. You know what I'm saying? To do what she wants, to, you know, whatever, to be on that pedestal in our household. You know, so when she moved in with us, it was something that I absolutely cherished. And then not too long after that, my mom, you know, got to the part where she physically wasn't able to take care of herself. And in her house with her and my dad, my stepdad, he couldn't do it as well because he working, and it just is something she needs, like a designated, you know, it's a lot. Yeah. My mom take a lot, but for me, it's not something I have to do, it's something I get to do. I look forward to it, you know, and the hardest part in taking care of my mom, she's independent. So she always, you know, it's a struggle for her to let somebody take care of her. Mm-hmm. And she does not, her whole life, she never wanted to be a burden. So now a lot of it is constantly reminding her that, Mom, you're not a burden. And I'll tell her, like, I'll explain it in many ways, but one of the ways I'll tell her is, Mama, I gotta earn my blessings. You know, you think if I don't take care of you the right way, God gonna take everything from me. Yeah. And it's clear to me too as well, you know, having my ups and downs and, you know, my career, but specifically my finances. This year, the best year I had. The year before that was just under that. The year before that was just, so the last like maybe 3 or 4 years was God positioning me to be in a place financially to be able to take care of my mom and my mother-in-law. And it's clear now. Yeah. It's clear that God wasn't blessing me with all this money just to go buy new cars and new jewelry, which is nice as well. But you know, it's clear that this is why I was getting these financial blessings so that I can take care of my mom or my mother-in-law. So, you know, I really enjoy the time spending with her, or being able to get her an ice pack, or, you know what I'm saying, or taking her to the doctor, or taking her on a walk in the neighborhood while I'm pushing her in a wheelchair, because she's in a wheelchair 24 hours a day or in a like recliner 24 hours a day. And it's, you know, you see, with my mother-in-law, she lost her mind. With my mom, she lost her body. And it's like, if you had to choose, which would you choose? And they both would choose the other. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? My mother-in-law would have rather kept her mind and lost her body. My mom, she would have rather, you know what I'm saying? They both, you know, would probably choose the other, you know, but it's a huge blessing to be able to take care of her. I really cherish it. You know, she's my hero. So to be able to be there with her and hang out, and, you know, she loves sports too. So we talk sports all the time, this and that. I didn't tell her who I was coming with. I told her I was going to Atlanta, but I can't wait. I can't wait to go back and tell her, man, I'm with Cam Newton talking about mama. She gonna be, oh shit, man, she gonna love that.
Man, I'll say this though, bro. It's a blessing to kind of hear. I lost my grandmother to dementia as well too, so I know the struggle. But to kind of get out of this, you know, frame of mind, you was mentioning paying for jewelry. I'm curious to know, what's the most money you spent on a piece of jewelry?
Well, it's almost a trick question, because being a partner with Johnny, me and Johnny are partners on Grillz, but not the entire jewelry store, even though I am like socially a partner with him. You know, anything I do affects him, anything he does affects me. And this, you know, I'm 100% there for the business. Me and Johnny are partners beyond the financial aspect of it, but being it, I have, invested interest in the jewelry store. What I paid for the jewelry isn't what a customer will pay. So I can kind of cheat. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? If I spend $20,000 on something, it's like somebody else spending $100,000 on something. Wow. And, also me being a walking billboard for the jewelry
That's your
store.
image.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, almost it's almost cheating. But there's definitely some pieces like it's crazy. Growing up, they say jewelry is a waste of money. Buy a house. So that's what I did. Then the housing market crashed. You know what I'm saying? And that was the worst investment I could have made.
Yeah.
And now with the price of gold, the jewelry I bought is I have a piece, this a white cup. It's the size of like a small, like 4-ounce little white coffee cup, water cup. It's small, but it's big for a piece, but it's small for a cup. But it's a white diamonds around it. And I put white diamonds in the inside and pink sapphires in the inside. It's my little drink cup. Okay. The cup itself is 500 grams of gold. So 500 grams of gold.
500 grand.
When I bought it, well, I mean, do the price of gold now, do the math. It's about that now. When I bought it, it was $100,000. Now it's probably for sure over that, just because with the price of gold. So it's crazy that, an investment that really was like a terrible investment at the time ended up being something that like is my most, my biggest asset.
Yeah.
Now.
So two things too, because I read a story about some particular troubles of Johnny in regards to business or jewelry. How has that kind of affected business?
Well, I know there was a viral thing that went around. It was just AI though. They were saying the FBI raided him and took him to jail. It's crazy. That actually was started by another rival jeweler who came up under Johnny. Johnny gave them their first job ever, and they worked for Johnny for a long time. Then they stole from Johnny, so Johnny fired them. And now it's just like a hate campaign against Johnny, from rival jewelers. So they put out this whole story that he was selling fake jewelry and the feds arrested him. And
so that's false.
It's all 100% false. Yeah, 100% false. But there are certain times where like just how the world works. If he gets into it with an artist because they're buying jewelry and they want something and they find out he maybe gave it to another artist for a cheaper price. Now they holding it against him and they want to fight him or cuss him out, and now they hate me because of it, But I kind of, let him be the face of the jewelry. That's, kind of how we built it up. And for me, it's a little easier that way. That way I focus on the music, and when it comes to the jewelry, I'm customer service. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
With it and
Hospitality.
I'm hospitality.
Yeah,
when somebody has an issue or something, they usually come to me. I maybe don't hear from them at all till there's a problem, and then they're like, "Man, I got a problem, this and that." And it's, with Johnny, with both of us, our goal has never been maximizing our profit. It's always been building repeat clientele. And we've been in business so long now. We got people that bring their kids, and they bringing their grandkids. Yeah. So it's the generational turnover of customers and clientele. Johnny now is, training his son and his daughter to kind of follow in his footsteps with the jewelry. Johnny's son he's with him kind of everywhere he goes now, learning the business, kind of building his own identity of, selling jewelry. And that's part of, the struggles of when you build a huge conglomerate of a business and then you pass it on to your kids and they fuck it up, or they turn to drugs, or they lose it gambling, or they sell it off because they don't want to work there every day. I don't want to do that. I want to do something else, But with Johnny, it's a little different, man, because he came into it. He comes from a jewelry family. He has a brother named Kevin who has a jewelry store. He has a brother named Jimmy, a brother named Daniel. They all are in kind of similar business.
Yeah. Educate me with something real quick. There was a phase we were hearing lab diamonds. Mm-hmm. What is that specifically?
A lab diamond is a diamond they make in a lab, where a regular diamond, a natural diamond we call, like what I'm wearing is a natural diamonds. Okay, these came from the earth, over years and years and years to create the pressurized whatever, I don't know, to make the diamonds. The lab diamond, they basically do all of that, but it don't take 1,000 years. It takes, 5 minutes, or however long.
So, go ahead.
They look identical. If I was to show you, a lab diamond and a natural diamond, none of us could tell the difference. There is no difference in the look of it. It's only a difference in how it was made. So it's a lot cheaper to get a lab diamond than a natural diamond. And I mean, at the end of the day, it boils down to the customer. If the customer wants a lab diamond, if they're in it for the look, then that's what they'll get. If they're in it for the investment, then they'll get the natural diamond.
So, last couple of questions for me. There's been an ongoing debate, right? And you being in the jury business, who has the better jury, rappers or athletes?
For sure, the athletes. That's what they got the money to spend to buy it. The rappers are getting the jury and then burning off, not paying the full amount, and the jeweler don't want to call them out because if I call you out as I'm the jeweler, and you're a rapper, you burn off on me. I might be a little sensitive on how I call you out, because if I call you out, you're gonna be like, "Fuck him, this and that, whatever," and then it piles on. Where the athletes not running. I mean, they're not running off for the most part. There are some that but for the most part, the athletes got the money. Yeah. They're not second guessing. They're not saying, "Oh, how much is it? Hey, give it to." They're not negotiating. It's definitely a different ballgame. You see Jalen Hurts with them diamonds.
Boy, let me tell you something. Boy, when he sat down, and Buddy said, what he said, y'all happy now or y'all satisfied?
Yeah.
Boy, Chris Brown, Usher, Michael Jackson, Jr., the 3rd and the 14th was dancing.
Yes.
You feel me?
I'm seeing him. I'm tucking my shit.
You feel me? Like, wait, what? What's that?
Yeah.
Well,
I think maybe with the rappers, though, sometimes the rappers maybe more have I don't want to say are more creative with it. I don't think that's it. I think they have a wider, or I don't know, a wider thing to choose from. So rappers will get a triple beam scale. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Where athletes not going to do that. A rapper might get a gun or certain things where it's just you could
whatever their mascot is or whatever they
or where they from maybe or a few but definitely shout out to the athletes. They definitely up here.
For sure.
The rappers might be not too far on them, but they definitely below the athletes.
Take us through what you have on now.
My new Rolex just got. That's why I'm wearing. I had to match it. You know what I'm saying?
Navy.
But this is my logo right here. It's the Oiler Mob. I took the Houston Oilers logo. That's kind of where the inspiration came, in the Cadillac wreath with a little oil spill on top and the Texas Lone Star right there. The Oiler Mob. That's my company, but it's not necessarily inspired by the football team. I was a diehard Oilers fan growing up, but what this represents to me was the era. Yeah. When they left in, 1999, 2000, whenever they left to go to Tennessee, the Oilers left. So we didn't really follow them as fans, especially when the Texans came. We all in on the Texans. Yeah. But this represents an era for me of when I grew up, of all the things that I grew up loving. DJ Screw, Lil Kiki, Fat Pat, or the slab culture, the cars that I fell in love with. I still love all of that. Yeah. So this, to me, more so represents an era than it does the football team. But the football team is just the face of that era.
I got it. Now, your grill, is there ever a time you take it out?
Yes, Johnny gets on me all the time. From if I'm smoking or eating or drinking coffees, Johnny will be like, "Say, man, you got to take them grills out," because I'll bring them to get cleaned, and it'll look like, well, hey, think about it like this. Okay, if this is a latte, and dip my watch in there, and then you got some lasagna, and I dip it in the lasagna, and then you smoking, you got all the smoke residue all on it. It just builds up. And, it's having a jewelry store or having access to getting my jewelry clean like that on a daily basis is still a challenge for me. I might be out of town for a month, or I might be, I'm too busy doing something to where I can't necessarily go get my jewelry clean like that. So by the time I do, it might be some 6 months or something of build up of, man, it's dirt. Johnny will be like, save me. So, yeah, if I'm smoking or sometimes if I'm eating, this right here, this is my, Funky Friday's grill. So I'm not, the grill I wore here was a different grill. That's the grill that I wore like when I'm drinking my latte or something. You know what I'm saying? But when it's come time to sit down on the couch, I'm taking that one out and I'm putting this one in. You know what I'm saying? And this grill right here is we call it the honeymoon set. This actually is like a reboot of a grill I had in like 2007, where I saw Birdman when he had every tooth had a big ass stone on it. And I was like, okay, I want something like that. But at the time, when you do grills like that, it would be very bulky. Mm-hmm. Now, Birdman's was nice. Whoever made his definitely was nice. But when I tried to recreate it at the time, where every tooth had a big stone, it just didn't hit right. It didn't look right. So as technology expands everything, it just, now it's time to, recreate it, reboot it. So this is a reboot of that where, every tooth has at least a carat, but every tooth has an engagement ring. Yeah. So that's why we call this the honeymoon set.
Bro, so as you see this impact of grills and flashiness kind of take on, not just through music, it has now made a major push into the NFL. You see guys like Lamar Jackson, you see guys like Justin Jefferson, you see guys, who have their grills. Keywan Lacey, individual I just met.
Alvin Kamara got some grills.
Alvin Kamara, for sure. Like, seeing that impact, and how that has kind of stemmed or have some traces even back to you. Like, are you able to identify the miscues or the perfections in that grill as you're seeing it on TV?
Some, but like I say, I look for the good. So, you know what I'm saying? If I see a grill that we didn't make, but for the most part, the ones you see, we made. Or we made for somebody else that sold it to them. But not all of them. And salute to everybody out there. I'm not the first one to sell grills. This is just something that I started off making and wanting, because I wanted it for myself. So making it, like I say, for other people, that's how it turned into a business for me. But I appreciate that I had any part in that. Whether it's I've sold over 1 million grills or being on the song with my dog Nelly, and having the
Smile
theme music.
For me, Daddy.
That's crazy to have the theme music for grills. That's amazing. But for me, I just look in the good, and I recognize that, like I say, that same opportunity I have, I know it changed my life. Yeah. Even though it transitioned to changing my music and my career, it absolutely changed my life. And I know that other people have the same, that same opportunity. So seeing that, when I see the other jewelers, even if they're like a rival jeweler, it's like, man, I salute them, because I know the grind it takes. I know the hard work it takes to build up a business. Yeah. And there's a lot of people out there that do good work, and I also think back to Allen Iverson, how he would get scrutinized just for his dress, or how he would. Yeah. They changed the whole dress code of the NBA because of this. So now to see that it's accepted and almost encouraged, like the Houston Texans, they have a whole piece and chain they made. This all iced out. They be wearing it. So to see that it's accepted and encouraged, to me, it's a beautiful thing to see the evolution of it, and to be a part of it in any way. You know what I'm saying? And of course, I always take the back seat to my bro Johnny. Even if I'm driving, I'm still in the back seat. That's I'm just driving for that little stretch. Yeah, it's amazing for me to be a part of it.
Man, my last question is this, man. There's a saying that says, "Never leave Houston on Sunday."
Yeah.
Explain that.
My boy Beat King, rest in peace. He coined that phrase and created that, man. A lot of it comes from the brunches and the nightlife and, everything that goes on. There's always so much to do in Houston, especially on a Sunday. But it's a lot, man. Big rest in peace to Beat King.
Yeah. Man, as we end things here, Funky Friday, when I say all together, we're going to say one love. When I say all together, we're going to say one love. When I say all together, we're going to say what?
One love.
So peep game. It may look like, H-Town, but we got to add an additional finger. We're going to go one finger, we're going to go one pinky, then we're going to add the thumb. And when I say all together, we're going to say what? One love. All right, you ready? One hand out. One finger. One pinky. One thumb. All together. One love.
Ladies and gentlemen, Pow Wow, baby. He the people's champ.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. Appreciate you, bro. Absolutely. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir.
Grab this picture.